Well, good morning and good afternoon to you all. Welcome to Zyxel's Tech Talk. My name is Tri Nguyen. I am the product manager and sales manager here at Zyxel North America. Just a quick check. If you can hear me, please raise your hand. I want to make sure that my mic is working okay. And that, thank you, Hermie. Thank you for that. Well, today we're going to be covering for new partners some information about our product line. We're going to go over kind of a high level of the products that we provide for you. And this is not the exhaustive list that we have and we carry here at Zyxel. We're going to try to touch as just kind of the high level of some of the things, get you some information about kind of the overall general products that we have. So it can help you to decide, and think about how Zyxel can be providing products for you as partners. Thank you for joining as partners or new partners. Hopefully some of this information is going to be helpful to you. If you have any questions throughout any of this webinar, please feel free to use the Q&A. There's a question and answer section that puts it into a nice list for me to go through. I will answer them in line if I can. If not, I will cover those ones that I can't at the end of the webinar. So let's go ahead and get started. Again, I've been at Zyxel for I think going on this year will be year 18 at Zyxel. So we've been producing products for quite a long time. We've been in the business for over 30 years, since 1989. 100 million devices making connections globally. We are a worldwide company at Zyxel Networks. We have 600 employees worldwide. 700,000 businesses use our products in 150 markets. We also have the accomplishment recently that we've hit over 200,000 devices on our Nebula cloud platform. If you are a partner with us, you have a dedicated rep in our sales team: David, Chen, Andy, and Jacob. David manages the East. Andy manages the West region in the green. And David also manages in Canada as well. And Jacob is in the central area with that the gray highlights there in those states. So if you have any questions with stocking, help with distribution, any deal registrations, any special pricing, anything like that, reach out to these folks are your advocates, and these are your, we want to help you to help decide what products to use and how to get it, how to acquire it, and to get the pricing that you need. So again, they're there for you and for you to be using them, and we want to be your help and your advocate in all the things that need to be processed through this whole system. We are internationally recognized for our innovation with our rewards and our design of our product, both hardware and software worldwide. We've been continually certified with ICSA as part of Verizon to certify security, interoperability, and implementation. And we've one of the few partners out there, one of only the 5 partners who actually have this distinction of 20 years in a row or more now. We are solutions driven, so we depend upon you as partners to provide us information, feedback, because we are the R&D and development team of products and software. We need to know from you as partners what your customer needs, what you need in order to manage products, to handle the entire ecosystem. So we want to go as much end to end as we can to provide you the complete solutions with all of our products. We want to build it that way as well, because just a single product, we can function. Our strength is being able to provide anything under the sun for Ethernet connectivity or wireless connectivity or even fiber connectivity. So we have security appliances, wireless solutions, Ethernet PoE capabilities with multi-LAN if you're trying to be an ISP or providing fiber to the home, fiber in the business, or fiber in the building. We have capabilities to do that, being able to use hotspot types scenarios, guest network access, routers that give you terms of service pages like a hotspot. We have that, and also being able to manage it not only in standalone mode, but in our Nebula cloud. And that's another differentiator that really kind of pushes us beyond some of the other competitors that are out there, being able to manage all of these systems under a single platform. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But first, I wanted to talk about security, because security is very important in my heart. I have been the security product manager for quite a long time here at Zyxel, and it's always been fun to kind of help to educate partners, and educating customers and end users on why security is very important. It always hurts me to see or to know that somebody would just go out to a retail store and just pick up like a basic SPI firewall and say they're going to use it in their hotel or in their business. You'd be surprised how many hotels are using just like a basic SPI firewall in that kind of system, providing internet connectivity and also trying to provide security for the customer. Security is not only just port blocking, but it's a lot of many layers because obviously today the threats are enormous. There's a lot of different threats that are out there. So we want to create smarter customers, smarter partners so they can educate those customers as well to provide ways to protect the business and protect those networks in the business because nobody wants to be down. They don't want anything kind of disrupting that network, especially today with remote access. We know that if a business internet connectivity or even their servers or something goes down because of a security threat, then all of a sudden productivity for those who are working remote, for those who are working like on the field, and even those who are working in the office basically go to a grinding halt. So looking at some statistics, 54% of small businesses think that they're too small for cyber attack. And Zyxel focuses on typically small business customers. So they're not the enterprise that have a CTO or like an IT director type customer. There's a lot of mom and pop shops. There's smaller customers that you as managed service providers are providing that security added services. So those customers don't realize that they're of any threat. They just think, well, I'm just too small to have anybody attack. But we know today with many zombie type attacks or machines that just get taken over, they may or may not be the direct attack, but they could be used to then launch a bigger attack against somebody else and using their machines, using their resources and their networks and disrupting that. 47% of small businesses have no understanding how to protect themselves against cyber attacks. I've walked in or talked to so many hotels customers that the owners are saying, I just got a cease and desist notice for somebody downloading illegal music or something like that from the provider, and they're just going, what do I do? I don't know it's even happening. They say that it's happening, and they're forcing us to try to find a way to block it. So again, that's where our expertise comes in to be able to help them with that and how to understand how to protect themselves and how to set up the system in a way that really makes sense and provides them that solution for them. It's because those small customers and a lot of actually in general, people don't think that they're going to be the one that's being attacked, but it's just a matter of time. A lot of these sensors and or detections of these viruses, they're just going out trying to look for hosts that it can infect, because then it can maybe not, like I said earlier, maybe not right away to do an attack, but it could be then utilized as a platform to launch bigger attacks against other companies. So it was just a matter of time whether or not you get hit with ransomware, you get hit with some sort of malware, you get hit with some sort of vulnerability and things like that. So we want to make sure that you do your best to educate and again protect. And this is where your value add comes in, is to protect new users from those kinds of threats, because they're depending on you for your expertise on how to deal with that, how to mitigate it, and how to do it correctly and responsibly. And again, I feel like it's almost like a personal thing upon me to want to help to educate people, because I don't want people to have to deal with those kinds of situations if they would have only taken preventative measures like early on, or set up the network in a way that was already had the security in mind and be able to protect against that. So we have a lot of different types of security features that are available to, again, to help a high availability, help make sure that the connectivity is always on, not only from the connectivity point, which is like VPN, load balancing, making sure you can add additional connectivity to it. I think that's a big one that's happening today with all the work from home scenarios, is most people didn't realize that, well, if you work from home, you're going to need much more upload speed at the office itself, because people are trying to download files or download content from the office through back to the home. And so that's the upload speed that gets needs to be increased. So doing load balancing, adding additional WAN connectivities to allow for that is very important today, and be able to load balance and use that as a failover now, because now that lifeline of that WAN internet connection becomes very valuable or very critical if it goes down, right? So we want to make sure that it's always available. Some sort of connectivity is always up. And then doing that remote connectivity securely, making sure that you're using VPN, you're using different types of VPN. And we've created different types of tunneling for SSL. We use the latest in technology for encryption. And that's a big thing. And we'll talk a little bit more about how to do that easily as well with a new solution that Zyxel has just recently launched. So some things like antivirus, intrusion detection, content filtering, layer 7 scanning and application scanning. All of that helps to enforce the different policies that you may have and make sure that devices that are going in and out, and also any traffic that's out and in, is being kind of sanitized to make sure that it's not causing any additional threats or different issues there. Layer 7 scanning lets you do block things like BitTorrent. So this is a solution that allows for you to block those illegal music downloads if you have customers doing that. Content filtering is a big one because a lot of times you want to be able to enforce policies and make sure that the employees themselves are not going to different sites that may cause or may open up vulnerabilities, right? So going to either inappropriate sites or going to malicious websites, it can be blocked for you to make sure that those content is not coming to that device or anything like that, so that they don't get actually click on a malicious web ad or anything like that to get downloaded for malicious content. So it's really a way to holistically protect, and you can't just protect with just like ports, and you have to use different layers of sophistication and technologies to be able to block all those different layers and different types of threats. Sandboxing allows you an even further level of security for maybe certain applications that maybe require that. It allows for you to do sandboxing and 0-day threat kind of analysis, so that any files that are unknown, whether it's a malicious or not, is actually sent to the cloud and is able to be processed. Botnet filters, intrusion prevention, those are all necessary if you're doing any PCI compliancy, HIPAA compliancy. These all help with providing you that kind of level of compliancy. Reputation filters, also again using ways to look at where the traffic is coming from, and if it's reputable or not, and making decisions on whether or not to pass those traffic. Our products are also integrated or highly integrated with each other. We have integrated Wi-Fi controllers in our firewalls, so you don't need a separate controller if you want to just manage it in kind of its hardware standalone state, and has built-in hotspot management as well. So if you want to do a ticket printer with username passwords, or if you want to set up like a certain limited accounts, or even just do terms of service when you log in. So guests just have to say, yes, I agree, and be able to go on to the internet. There's a lot of creative ways that our partners have been doing that as well, and to be able to use that as a monetizing way as well. So our firewalls are broken down into kind of 3 levels: simplicity, flexibility, and ultimate. And that's represented by our VPN series on the simplicity side. And this is kind of what you would think. It's called a VPN series because its primary focus is VPN. So if you want a kind of a concentrator that allows for you to throw into an existing network, or using this as its main firewall, then it will provide you the full featured firewall function with no UTM, except it does offer content filtering services, so you can do that. But other than that, its focus is to make connectivities from either remote users, remote devices, or office to office connectivity. So you can do multi-WAN or multi-office and interconnect them through kind of a hub spoke scenario if you need to. And the VPN capabilities, or how you set up the VPN, is actually really easy nowadays. Instead of you being much more complex before to do multiple sites together. The Usg Flex is kind of the next level. It's still like a VPN tunnel, except it has now full UTM performance, or enhanced UTM functionality. That's the content filtering, intrusion detection, anti-spam, application aware. All of that is included in this bundle. You can buy it both as a hardware platform only, so it's just hardware, so it functions like a VPN. You can add on a la carte services if you'd like, or you can then buy the full bundle version, which comes with 1 year of the Usg Flex and the UTM services. Now, keep in mind that when you do buy this bundle as a hardware bundle with the UTM services for 1 year, the benefit of that is that it also then includes 1 year of Nebula cloud services. So you have that all included in this package in one platform, whether you're using it standalone or in the cloud. But it gives you kind of that flexibility, and this is one of our best sellers this series because of its flexibility. Still being able to do device hardware high availability on the higher models, but flexible management and standalone, and also our Nebula Control Center. And on the higher end is our flagship ATP series. Again, the main difference between this and our Usg Flex models is basically the sandboxing function and the URL threat management and reputation filter type functions. So the sandboxing, again, we'll talk a little bit about more, but that's kind of the main differences. And it kind of just scales with how much speed or how much horsepower you're looking for. This chart just kind of addresses the main kind of differences there between the three different models there, all the way up to the ATP series. If you'd like, a battle card that has this information on it, you can request to our to your sales rep, and they can provide this information to you. So we also partner because of security is, multi-layer, multifaceted, multiple threats. We partner with some of the leading security specialists to provide that kind of protection because we know at Zyxel, we can't do it ourselves. We can't just build our own technology when there are companies out there like McAfee, WebRoot, LastLine, Trend Micro, and Bitdefender who do this. This is their business and this is their what they do day to day. And so we implement their signatures, their technology, and their implementations into our system and make sure that it's all integrated and that it works together cohesively. And with that, with that implementation in this new platform, we were able to offer almost up to 500% increase of UTM performance compared to our previous models. So it's a huge kind of jump in the next level of UTM performance. One of the biggest complaints is, hey, well, if I want to get higher speeds, I need to turn off services. So our goal was to try to give as much performance as possible with UTM services and be able to enable, functionalities that allow for you to have higher speeds without sacrificing security. And this is just the pure UTM. We do have a function called enhanced UTM. If you have you need that extra burst rather than doing signature-based scanning, we can actually do cloud-based enhanced with cloud scanning, and that actually improves the performance even further. So comparing just to these models, this is kind of what you'll see in terms of performance increases. This is the model for the Usg Flex and the speeds that are available. What you want to do, most customers will ask our new partners will say, well, which model do I use? We've labeled and named our products now that kind of uniform, where there's a VPN 100, a USG 100, and an ATP 100. So we have those three models that kind of give you the different types of functionality, but the scale is kind of the same in terms of what kind of customer. So if you look at Usg Flex here, if it's focused on UTM type services, you want to look at the UTM throughput on the data sheet. And the Usg Flex 100 says 360. We have to keep that in mind. That's doing the multiple sessions, that's doing max throughput testing while you have all those UTM features turned on, which is the most excessive, and then also doing it with the largest packet sizes. And so in general, you want to take that number and take about 50% of that, 50 to 60% of that number to gauge what WAN speed would be fitting for that type of device. So in this case, 360, you can be comfortable with a 200 meg kind of connection, a WAN connection for this kind of office space. So that's typically we see customers using it in a 5 to 25 user kind of scenario. But again, it varies. The number of users doesn't really matter. It's just what your application is, how much bandwidth you're using, and how many devices that are there. That you can overload as much as you want. But again, it just depends on what you're trying to do with that connection. If it's just basic internet connectivity, just going to the web, getting email, it's probably not, you could probably put lots of people on there as long as the bandwidth is enough to satisfy that many customers, right? So, and then just moving on to those other devices, it just increases in capacity all the way up to the Usg Flex 700, which has a UTM throughput capacity of 1.3 gigs. We also wanted to provide flexibility in migration. If you are a current partner or you may be joining and you have, you knew about us with our USG platform before, we want to make that migration level easy as possible. So what we've done is we've taken, if you have a customer who has UTM, a USG device out there and wants to move to USG Flex, in the past, you had to wait till kind of the services ended so that you can maximize how much UTM services because they weren't, transferring. So you wanted to get to the end of that period before you migrated your customer over to that. So then, you had to wait. But with our current migration system, we made it easy for you. So let's say your customer had multiple services left and they're all expired at different times. Here, content filtering is at 7 months and the lowest was 2 months left. Well, what you do is when you migrate over to USG Flex, we will actually normalize and we will transfer and extend all those other services, for free to the one that is the longest. So all the services get extended to 7 months when you transfer. Now, if you bought the hardware with the bundle, let's say it comes with 1 year bundle, we actually add that normalization to those 12 months. So in this case, you have your 12 months on all those services. We will then also increase it additional 7 months across the board. So you have 19 months worth of services as you transferred over. So it really makes it kind of easy for you. Here's the migration path, in USG 40s going to USG Flex. And it's all about higher SPI throughput and also very, dominating UTM throughput. So you can see 50 megabits per second was the previous platform. And now we're offering 380 on that platform. We also want you to make sure to go to myzyxel.com. Myzyxel.com allows for you to create and manage devices and the licensing of products. So that's kind of where you register devices as well. So make sure you have an account there. And once you're there, there is in the top right, you can click on the 3 buttons to select multiple sites. There's one that's called Circle. So Zyxel Circle allows for you as partners to apply to join so that you can manage those devices and buy licenses through Circle and be able to apply those services directly to those devices. In fact, there's no keys that you can buy. You can still buy keys, but the ease of it, the ease of use is if you are managing your devices or your customers' devices in your MyZyxel account, they will appear in Circle, allow for you to, see which ones are expiring, be able to just, click on the devices that you want to buy services for, go through and add it to your cart, go through a checkout process. And once you've paid and it's been authorized, then all of a sudden those devices now have, the updated licensing. So there's no mistake in buying the wrong keys, all that kind of thing. And you don't have to go through any login to add those license keys to the customer. It's just done. And once the device goes and syncs up the licensing, then it will know of the new expiration date. But you also get your discounts and stuff as partners there through a Circle. And this is reserved for partners only. So make sure you are an approved partner and going through that Circle process and applying for that so that we can approve you. Our security appliances are also certified. We're one of only 7 brands in the world that is both certified with AWS and also Microsoft Azure. So we're able to implement connectivities to those cloud platforms. So if you're using those, those cloud services on those cloud applications for your customers, and you need a VPN device to build that connectivity to that, and the multiple load balancing capabilities of that, requirement, these are your firewalls. All of our Usg Flex and ATP products and VPN products can all manage those connectivities to those platforms. So that's a big accomplishment there as well. So with conventional UTM, it's all based on signatures, and so you can only block what you know. So you can't really block what you don't know, and that kind of throws, the whole system into a place where there's a lot of traffic that's kind of unknown. It might be good, might be bad, might be suspicious, but because you don't know, you don't want to just block it because it could really affect kind of overall usage if you just block everything. So ATP series, our flagship, uses sandboxing and artificial intelligence to manage all of that, be able to send stuff into the cloud. So we're able to actually detect and conquer unknown security threats. Basically, we make what's unknown known. So we don't necessarily block what's unknown unless you want it to be that way. But what we do is we're able to find new threats that are out there. So let's say a file comes in, there's some sort of threat in a zip file. We don't know what it is. We don't have any record of what it is. We'll send it to the cloud. The cloud will emulate that. It will contain it. It will find, what patterns are being done. Is it making connectivity to certain servers, things like that. And it'll be able to analyze it. It identifies it if it's a malicious attack, and then releases, information signatures that is then passed on to protect all the other devices. So it's a worldwide network of, the more devices that are out there, the more it can help to secure each other and be able to detect those things in the cloud. So the ATP series is just like the USG Flexes, 100, 200s, 500, 700s, but it also has an 800 on the top end as well in terms of throughput, but be able to do that with the ATP sandboxing. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit to go to Nebula, to talk about Nebula. This is our cloud platform, and this is our award-winning cloud platform that we've been implemented for several years now. Like I mentioned earlier in our webinar, we have over 200,000 devices now being managed by Nebula, and that's growing exponentially right now with your help as partners. And we see the great adoption of this platform, and seeing the power about how a single platform could help to provide services and to provide all sorts of management for managed service providers, for IT managers, for VARs, people who are looking to even start up a company to do any kind of services. So if you're new to networking, this is really helpful to kind of take that, a lot of the setup of things, for monitoring and for management, kind of out of the way, so that you can just focus on selling product and making sure that it's easy to use. So we have hassle-free network management. So it's hassle-free because you could actually set it up in a way where you don't even have to unbox the device. That's the cool thing. And there's a QR code that's on the packaging or even on the belly label of the device. All you have to do is scan it or have the serial number input and MAC address input into your account, and you can add it to a certain site. That means the device doesn't even have to be powered on for you to already pre-configure the device. And so you can configure it without even unboxing it. Just imagine the power of just being able to go, hey, I need to send this off to the customer, or you need to go install this for the customer. You scan those, those three devices, a gateway, an access point, a switch. You give it to your tech to go take it off. And while he's off and running, to the site, you're just like, adding it to the account, you're changing some of the settings, and then, you've already configured the device by the time he's going to plug it in. So once he plugs it in, it literally is up and running in minutes, because it will then try to get internet connectivity from inside out. It's going to dial home to the Nebula platform and say, hey, who do I belong to? It goes, who do I belong to? And then the Nebula will say, well, you belong to customer A from this partner website, this partner's site, and pushes the firmware or downloads the firmware, downloads the configuration file for it, and then it's up and running. So that happens for all of the devices, the gateway, the switches, and the access points. So really, it's a cool way for you to be able to manage that and be able to implement that. And also your reach can actually go a lot further. Before, maybe you had to go and drive to do these installations. You can then now reach customers kind of around the country if you wanted to, and provide these installation kits where there's like a self-help installation, or we have some partners who will use third-party, network installation people, even on a third-party app or a contractor or something off field, that just all they need to do is be able to plug it in. They don't even need to be, a network engineer or anything like that. And you'll handle the rest within the cloud and be able to manage it anywhere you have access to the internet, because there's no additional hardware that they have to install in the location, just those devices themselves. Again, it helps to make sure that it's installed as easy as possible without, you don't need an extra cloud key. You don't need to put any extra servers or computers to manage that. So that gives you access to those devices and visibility to the entire network anytime, anywhere. And it's really a crazy, the power of the information that you have. If you have not checked out Nebula yet, definitely go to nebula.zyxel.com. There is a demo site that you can log in to give you some basic information, but there is a lot of information that you can get, the power usage, the clients, the number of users that are there, how many people are on the Wi-Fi, their client devices, and even their signal strength and which AP they're connected to. All of this information is very valuable, especially if you're trying to troubleshoot or maybe to improve connectivity for your customers. We've been using this to help troubleshoot hotels, to help them to improve, different types of connectivity. If they have areas where there was lacking in connectivity, we could see that, physically on this Nebula platform, and be able to take action and mitigate all of that. So you have access to anywhere you have a web browser and have internet connectivity, even on the side of a mountain when you are hiking. And that's probably not unheard of. I'm sure many of you who have been on IT side of things, you get a call, it's 24/7 as a business owner or as a managed service provider. And, you get a call that says, hey, my network's down, and, you're somewhere. And, thankfully with this kind of platform, you're able to log in on your phone, your device, and be able to see kind of and do some troubleshooting from that. So there's a lot of tools that are available. That there's a lot of guest access that's implemented into the Nebula as well, with captive portal, device management, also guest isolation protection, things like that that you've implemented. So you can have a guest network on an SSID, and then you have a private network on another SSID. And we can do smart meshing within devices with the APs. We will enable WAP enterprise levels of security, even with 802.1x authentication, and then also roaming technologies that are implemented and managed within the Nebula system. So really, it's all all beneficial for Wi-Fi as kind of a main focus. But even with Wi-Fi, you need to have devices that are powering the network. So it's very important to have visibility on the PoE switches and the technology that's available there, being able to provide the capacity, seeing how much power is being utilized on a device, be able to have connectivity into that and visibility to see maybe where the devices are connected, how much bandwidth is, maybe there's a cable length issue, anything like that can be determined. You have ACL, VLAN configuration capabilities, and a bandwidth management, loop guard protection, DHCP guard protection, all those authentication capabilities as well with that. So however sophisticated kind of network you want to implement, and be able to see and manage all those devices as if they were kind of one giant kind of device, and be able to update all of that over the connectivity, over the internet, making configuration changes, firmware updates. You can schedule those as well. So you don't have to take things down during an office hour, but you don't have to stay up there as either. You can just schedule, hey, let's do this firmware update at 3 a.m, and it just have it scheduled, or even to schedule power cycles of devices, just to clean it out. You can do it once a month or whatever you want to do to manage that. Also, we've implemented ways to handle VPN within Nebula to make it as easy as possible to build site to site, or to build locations and clients as well. We've implemented those with just a few clicks. You can get emails, even email set up through the Nebula. So you can use your client device and get that email information that is specifically for that device to make that connectivity. You can manage all of your clients under a single pane of glass. So each organization could be each customer, and each customer underneath has different sites. So you can manage an unlimited number of devices and multi-tenant, however you want to build it out. We have customers who have, a certain retail chain, and then underneath each store is a different type of site. So you can make changes in a kind of a global organization level, or within different sites that you want to choose. So this is kind of a dashboard view of what you get kind of in the organization view. You can skip between the different organizations. You have device information, you have client information, you real-time summaries of websites, traffic, bandwidth utilization, and you can customize this widget for every one of your sites as well. So you can choose what information is practical for your customers and your tech visibility. And also you could provide view-only access to your customers as well. So we see this being given to the IT manager of their customer, who only have access to see their site or their organization, and be able to see all of the activities that are there without being able to make any changes. So again, that's another value add of the platform. Also, if you have any problems or need to do troubleshooting, these are some of the few items that you can do within Nebula. You can do remote CLI, you can do cable diagnostics for the fiber and the Ethernet. You do speed tests, ping tests from devices. You can get an automatic topology view to see what's connected to it. And you can get all these detailed logs and auditing information as well. You get notifications when you set it up. If certain triggers are there that need to send you some messages and alerts and alarms, that can do it as well through notifications on your mobile device. And did I mention that it was free? I did say it was hassle-free, but it's also free. So it's a free platform on the base level that gives you 7 days of logs and gives you all of the provisioning capabilities. But there are some features that if you are a full-on managed service provider, you may want to check out to see what maybe some of the higher pro features are available. So some of the devices are what we call Nebula Flex and Nebula Flex Pro. Nebula Flex just means that the device is capable of both the standalone mode and can be implemented into the Nebula cloud. And that can provide you, that the provisioning services and the benefits of Nebula with a license, or even if it's a free service, then you can move it over to there to get the free license. Nebula Flex Pro devices basically are standalone products that also include like a 1 year or a multi-year of Nebula cloud platform like services. So it comes embedded or bundled with that. When you buy that, whether you use it in standalone or in Nebula mode, you just have that license there is available. So in Nebula Pro, then you don't have to buy any additional licenses. Then you can just activate it within the Nebula platform. And that gives you the Pro full-fledged license on that Nebula Pro. We do offer other levels, and I'll talk about what those levels are. And we do have some data sheets and battle cards that you can get from your sales rep that will kind of dictate or show you what the main differences are between those tiers of services. But right now, our work from home, everybody's either work from home. I'm home right now. I'm on a hybrid mode, so I only go into the office a couple times, a week. But other than that, I'm working remotely if I'm traveling. But many organizations are trying to shift to that and be able to provide security again. So that's again my heart and soul is about security and how to do that securely. Because when we were working from home, when it first started, we all came home and everybody just logged onto their home network because that was the only thing that's there and try to build VPN tunnels or just try to make connectivity back to the cloud. And so you don't know what could be, happening within that home network. It could already have been, compromised from the beginning, and now that's kind of leaching over to the business side. So we want to make sure that the Wi-Fi connectivity is kind of secure as possible and be able to manage that connectivity in those endpoints, especially if you're either traveling or you're working from home. You're using VPN to make sure that that is secure as possible, whether you're connected to a hotspot or not. We want to make sure that you're using at least VPN and making sure that that connectivity is a secure tunnel as possible. So what we've done also, we've simplified that by creating what we call a drop-in AP to provide secure Wi-Fi to the business. So you as partners can provide this as a service if you'd like. Being able to go, hey, I'm going to drop in an AP that will just use your existing network. It's just connected by Ethernet and powered up, to your connectivity. As long as that device can get internet connectivity, it's going to build a tunnel, a layer 2 tunnel that goes through the internet back to that office network, creating a secure tunnel. And the SSID that's there that you've created for the office, it could be the exact SSID as you have in the office itself. So let's say in the office, I have a SSID called Zyxel. At home, after I plug in this remote AP, I will also see a Zyxel SSID, which then my laptop device that I've taken from work can then log into that using 802.1x authentication. It is then secured, tunneled back to the office, and it actually functions as if I'm sitting at the office. So any resources, printers, devices, servers, shares, whatever it is, I can have access to all of that as if I was sitting in the office directly. So it simplifies the deployment, creates kind of a plug and play option for you. And you as an IT manager or as a managed service provider can then implement all of the, firewall rules and security policies, content filtering policies of that laptop, now as if they were sitting in the office. So all those same policies that they had while they were sitting in the office and being controlled there is now able to be extended into that remote workplace and that remote home. And also this is beneficial. Let's say you have a temporary site, maybe a construction office that's going up temporarily for 6 months. They can literally just take this AP as long as they can get like a connectivity DSL or some sort of other connectivity, Wi-Fi, whatever it is. They're able to drop this AP and function as if they were sitting in that office network as well. So extending that network into those remote areas. And so that provides you a level of security. You're then able to provide all of that be enforced by all of the UTM, being able to use the cloud to manage the security platform profiles and be able to do what we call collaborative network defense. And that's kind of the benefits of using kind of Zyxel equipment throughout this whole infrastructure, is that it can then notify, the AP to block or quarantine clients or certain types of network edge usage after it's identified that maybe there's some sort of threat. So we can communicate with the devices and make a collaborative effort to block and control those kinds of devices and networks that might be compromised. So that's kind of the benefits of using all, Zyxel solutions in this kind of scenario. So I did mention a lot about Wi-Fi, and that's probably our number one application. Every device kind of uses Wi-Fi, and there are a lot of pain points, especially with the technology moving. You see, we were at 11AC, and then we moved to Wi-Fi 6, and then there's going to be 6E in there, and there's going to be, AX, all those kinds of things. It's all, kind of like he's doing. It's just kind of a big headache on what do I use. It feels like if I just add more APs, it should improve it, right? And in a lot of cases, it's not. And there's a lot of things that you have to think about. And we work with partners to help you understand how to deploy Wi-Fi, what things to consider, using our expertise on how to deploy those kinds of equipment. And so what's really the main issue behind Wi-Fi and why it doesn't really work well if you just throw up a bunch of more APs? It's called co-channel interference. And that's the main thing. Everybody always sees Wi-Fi and goes, "Hey, I have 4 bars, but I can't send any traffic. What's going on?" Right? And that's probably the main issue. You've been sitting in a conference area where there's hundreds of devices, or there's, you see when you turn on your AP or your Wi-Fi, you see like 50 access points that you can connect to, right? It's all causing interference in that scenario. So let's see what interference does. So and also how smart antenna helps to improve that. So with the normal access point, you have an omnidirectional AP there. You may have some sort of disruption, co-channel interference, or even non-Wi-Fi interference type things. And that can cause like the communication within that area to be degraded. So devices that are in the area might be suffering from, poor connectivity or can't transfer kind of networking information. But using smart antenna, what it does is it actually uses a special patented process that Zyxel owns to kind of mitigate the co-channel or the interference, either co-channel interference or other Wi-Fi interference that might be happening in the network. And it actually listens, it looks and optimizes, uses 700 optimized patterns to find what is kind of optimal for that particular device. And it's actually able to shape and remember what that is. So my analogy with that is, if I do this, I cut my voice and I am then speaking to you more efficiently, more, louder. And at the same time, I'm cupping my ears so that I'm listening in that same direction as well and mitigating any kind of interference or noise that's behind me. So that's kind of the basic process of how the smart antenna technology of our Wi-Fi works. Co-channel interference is pretty much, everybody talking to each other at the same time, and it's causing collisions. And because it can't communicate clearly, it has to retry. So it's like cars that just are constantly kind of running into each other over and over. My analogy with that is I have 3 kids, and if all 3 kids are talking to me, I don't understand a word that they're saying, or I can't comprehend what they're saying and piecing it all together. So it's all about, just talking one by one and be able to manage all of that efficiently. And WAX actually helps with that, because now I have 2 brains and two sets of ears to listen to 2 different people at the same time. So it helps to mitigate that. So that's kind of the benefits of WAX. But overall, smart antenna also helps with that. It helps to increase capacity, increase coverage, and reduce interference through our products. And we stand behind our products and the way we've designed it, with our shielding, with how we optimize the antennas, and also how we shielded, the different components that are within the device, so that it doesn't cause interference or is not as susceptible to interference from other devices. So we back all of our products, all of our business products, by a lifetime warranty. So we have a lifetime warranty on all of our business class products. So these are some of the AP models that are there. There's a lot of AP models. These are 11 ACs. These are Nebula only type access points that we transitioned out of. These are our other AP that have Pro in them. So they're the ones that have already the cloud structure in them. We have outdoor options as well with our smart antennas mode. And then we have our AX models with our WAX 650S is our high-end smart antenna flagship model. And that is a fantastic AP to use in any kind of high concentration, in classroom environments, anywhere where you may need, you have like 50 clients trying to all connect, at the same time. It's able to do that very efficiently, very, very quickly. And again, there's so many of them out there. We have battle cards that kind of explain how to choose which one. Primarily though, most, just so you know, in the industry, the chipset vendors for that make all of the Wi-Fi chips there, they're basically saying we won't produce AC anymore. So anything AC today, or what's kind of already built in the market, is what you'll see, and everything is transitioning to AX. So all of the new kind of product and new stock that's coming through will be all AX. But there's still probably a lot of chips that are out there that's already built that's still for AC. So we'll still have that trickle effect. But from the manufacturing standpoint, it's ended in terms of that. So we've moved on to AX. So we'll see more of that transition happening over the next few years as well, as being the primary product to use. But with AX, there are some other challenges. You have to make sure that your Wi-Fi network is being powered correctly with appropriate PoE power. Some of those higher end AC models didn't require like higher power consumption, but 11AX on the high end not only require higher power, but also higher bandwidth with multi-gig connectivity options. So I wanted to touch base with some of the basics of how we do our switches. If you're new to us, GS is primarily the main switches that we use. GS is just a gigabit switch. XS stands for all ports, whether it be all copper, all fiber, can support either multi-gig or 10 gig connectivity. So 2.5, 5 gig, and 10 gig connectivity on the copper port or fiber. XGS is traditionally a gigabit switch, but has 10 gig or multi-gig uplinks. So that's where that X is just a Roman numeral for 10. And MGS switches, those are just kind of carrier switches. They're metro, either have AC DC connectivity or maybe temperature hardened, because they're made to be put into a cabinet or something like that. If it ends in a P or HP, that means that it's a PoE switch or high power PoE switch. If it ends in an F on the model name, then it means it's a fiber. It has fiber connectivities as its main connections. If you see switch combo ports, those mean that they have both an Ethernet and a fiber port that is shared. So they're usually labeled the same number. So in this case, this would be port number 9, either 9 or 10, and they're shared. You can only use one or the other. You can't use both at the same time. But it does give you the flexibility, whether you have fiber or copper, to make those uplinks. If there's SFP, that's a gigabit transceiver kind of connectivity, and SFP plus means that it's a 10 gig connection transceiver using the same kind of footprint size. So we have switches that do that, but you all need, for SFP, you still need a transceiver that converts the fiber into that port. And the big application is PoE. In PoE, if it says if it's 802.38F, that's the 15.4 watt. That's the older standard. All of our switches today are all at least 802.3 AT standard, which is the 30 watts of power per port. And we have new products that are coming out with PoE++, that's Ultra PoE, and it's 802.3 BT that supports 60 watts of power. So PoE is a big application for us, and we think that we do things differently. We have intelligent PoE management, allows for us to dedicate and detect how much power is actually being used by the device that you have plugged in, and be able to allocate that against the budget rather than just budgeting the entire kind of classification of the product. So it actually reserves that power, so you can actually power up more devices and more efficiently using Zyxel switches for that, and be able to schedule those powers as well. So you can schedule access points, maybe in an office environment, to turn off after hours, so that there's no Wi-Fi access for anybody to come in and try to maybe hack or anything like that from a security standpoint, in the middle of the night. And an example of how we allocate this PoE is, let's say in this case, there's a pan tilt zoom camera that uses classification or classified as a 30 watt classification. If you want to power up 20 of these pan tilt zooms, it's going to cost you 600 watt power supply to do that in a maybe a competitor device. But with the Zyxel switch, because the AP or the PTZ camera only actually consumes and draws 16 watts, we actually are able to detect that and be able to power up 20 of these cameras just using a 320 watt power supply. So that makes it more efficient in terms of power consumption and also power cost for the device. And also from a cost for the switch standpoint, you don't need to get a switch that is a 600 watt power supply switch. So we have a lot of different PoE offerings, things for smaller applications or maybe just desktop type applications under 100 watt. But then it ranges all the way up to 1,000 watt on the higher end there. Primarily, the main focus that we have, our main bread and butter, is our 1900 series, 1920s, with and without 10 gig, or our XS 1930s that have multi-gig. And I'll talk a little bit more about why the XS 1930s is important, especially for WAX deployment. But in general, We'll be seeing some improvement. Unfortunately, with switches worldwide, switches is on a major shortage in terms of chipset, and in general, it's hard to find switches. I know you guys as partners in the last 6 months have been, trying to find any kind of switches to deploy, and that's not going to get any better, I don't think, for the industry. Probably at least 6 months or more, especially in the backlog of what's available, what's being consumed right now. But we constantly are getting product in. So again, work with our distributor and our sales reps to kind of get your forecasts and get your products ordered, so you get into the queue, because we have to go through allocations. Just as we are being allocated, we have to then allocate those quantities that finally arrive to our partners, fairly there. So we have to make sure that you get your orders in, so you get your place in line, and kind of have that expectation, especially when you're setting it for your customers. Some of these projects may be dragging out for several months before you actually can get product to install. But I think over the last 6 months, that's kind of been the norm of things. But hopefully that will get better in the near future soon. But especially for switches, that's going to be a little bit longer than some of the other products like Wi-Fi and access gateways. So that's our bread and butter here, is our 1920 series. Most of our partners love this product because, again, it's not only standalone mode, but also can be flexed into the Nebula platform with the licensing. But it gives you options for 10 gig versions of the model, and be able to provide up to 375 watts of power, on the switches, 24 port, 48 port versions as well. So I mentioned the multi-gig there, and why it's going to be important for Wi-Fi 6. And multi-gig switches are kind of going to be the way of the future because of these applications with Wi-Fi 6. Using existing Cat 5 and Cat 6 cabling, you can only do so much. So you have to make sure that you have the right cabling to be able to produce the enough speed across the distances that you're using. So you can see this table here. With Cat 5e, if that's the cabling that you have available, the maximum you can push then is at 100 meters is 5 gigabits per second. You can still do the 60 watt power, but you can see you can't do 10 gig on a Cat 5e for any distance there. So you want to get to then Cat 6 or Cat 6a to be able to go to the full 100 meter type throughput. So in a lot of cases, you won't deal with that kind of link, but just keep that in mind that could cause problems, especially if you're trying to install like APs and things like that. Maybe that is going upon 300 feet, that you want to make sure that you have the right cabling for that. Otherwise, you can run into issues where it doesn't seem like it's working. Also, you don't want to underpower it as well. So you want to be able to make sure that you have 802.3 BT with a 60 watt power. So these switches here give you not only multi-gig ports, 1 gig, 2.5 gig, 5 gig, and 10 gig options on the copper, but then can push 60 watts of power through those ports. So you can see in this one, it's an 8-port switch, but has a 375 watt power supply. So it can provide that as the budget for those kinds of applications. So this is a perfect pairing for the Wi-Fi 6, like the WAX 650S. That uses a 5 gig uplink. So you can use this can make those connectivities and also provide the power for those devices. So these, again, are also in high demand as well. So you make sure, if you do have demand for that, so you do plan on building a Wi-Fi 6 network, that you have these kind of like on order as soon as possible. You can order and work through distribution. As a partner, you are in, typically you start out in our silver tier, and we do evaluations every 6 months to see if you can maintain that. Qualifying sales for 6 months is 6K. So if you do 1K a month in Zyxel products, which is like one firewall, or so a month, then you're able to maintain that silver tier. But we think it's really, there's no additional cost to join our program. You just get benefits as long as you can maintain a certain volume. And 12K, a 6 month period, that's 2K a month, especially with your networking business. That's your main core of your business. That shouldn't be a big hurdle. We just want to make sure we're rewarding customers and partners who are loyal to us and want to help to work with us to improve your margins, as well as improve relationship and how we work with you to help you build out your partners or your customer networks. You can buy all of our products through these main distributors: D&H, Ingram Micro, Cynix, Wave, Target, and Pace International Distribution. So we work with them as partners to provide that. And again, you work with the sales reps in the distribution side that then work with our sales reps here in the Anaheim office and be able to provide you the best service as we can and be able to work out any of those scenarios, whether you need tech support or you need to talk to, look at quantities, if you're looking for drop shipping, whatever it may be. Again, make sure you have us all in that communication. You can also check out the latest promos on our LinkedIn, our YouTube account there, linkedin.com. And it's a Zyxel-US channel. And on YouTube, it's just Zyxel America channel for you to make that connection with us. And you can find other webinars and things like that at our YouTube. Be able to look and learn more about specific things, even more detailed about our Nebula platform or any of our security implementations, certain features like secure Wi-Fi in detail. You can find all of that there on our YouTube. And we do these every week. We do the partner one every month, but we do different topics every week. So be sure to kind of be connected with us and join us in any of those webinars. So if you have any questions, I didn't see any questions that was, asked during the session, but if you have any questions now, please feel free to use the Q&A section. I'm just going to wait for just a couple minutes since we're heading up on our 12 o'clock. So I just wanted to say thank you to you. Appreciate you joining me this morning and this afternoon, wherever you may be. And I hope that this has been helpful to you to kind of give you that general information about some of our products. But one of the things I like to tell our partners is if there's something that's connected to network, I want you to think of Zyxel because we have something that does connect to that network. So keep that in mind as you go through and utilize us as a resource for that. Thank you, Hermie, for joining. I appreciate it. If there are no further questions, again, if you have any questions later on, or if I don't get to answer any of your questions now, you can always email me, tri@zyxel.com, or you can go through any of our sales reps if you have any questions with that. We want to be able to give you and arm you with a bunch of battle cards, how to displace any of these competitors that you may see out there. We have information on how to do that, how to talk about why Zyxel's solution is better than or superior to some of these other competitors that are out there. We want you to use the best. And I've been here 18 years, and I really believe in the product. And it's always about technology. It's about learning about new things and seeing how technology and things that we've been able to develop and offer to the world, and how that helps to improve networking and connectivity for businesses, for people, and for partners like yourself, and providing that to end customers. That's the satisfying part of it, is when I know that you guys are informed to be able to protect your company and also protect your customers' network. Then that really is satisfying that that what we're doing is really helpful for other people and for networks that are out there. So again, thank you again so much for your time, and I hope you have a great rest of your week and great rest of your day. Stay safe, stay healthy, and look forward to talking to you soon. Thank you so much.